be talking to players from the entire team.
Today, I'm joined by Peyton Chattenay.
What's your mindset when you step on the mound?
When did you learn you were going to be in Orleans?
What do you think that feeling is going to be like?
Hi, Cape League fans. This is Coach K, manager of the Orleans Firebirds, and I'm here to tell you that Cape League baseball is back this summer, and it's time to meet the Bird King.
Welcome into another edition of Meet the Bird Gang 2.0. I'm your host today, Noah Searson. Will be on the sidelines all season long. You can find me at Eldredge Park on June 20th against the Harwich Mariners season opener for Orleans. Very excited for that one, but even more excited right now to be joined by none other than Jake Saum. He's a pitcher from UCLA, and he's going to be playing for the Orleans Firebirds this season. So, Jake, thank you so much for giving me some of your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
So, I'd like to get into a lot of things regarding the Orleans season, the Cape season. I know that's what the fans want to hear about. Before we get into that, let's take it back to the college season you just wrapped up. I know your freshman year was kind of funky with COVID, and you didn't get a full season in, which was the case with a lot of people on this Orleans Firebirds team. But you had a full season this year, and you put up some pretty good numbers, 2-2 on the season, 17 appearances, 20 innings pitched under your belt for UCLA with 23 strikeouts. So before we get into the nitty-gritty, just tell me how your first full season of college baseball went.
It was awesome. Conference and non-conference games. West Coast baseball is top tier, so it was great to pitch against good competition, especially like teams in the Pac-12. I enjoyed pitching a lot out of the bullpen this year. Unfortunately, my season was kind of cut short by injury, but the games that I did get to pitch, it was just an awesome experience.
So you mentioned that you want to just give a quick update on how you're feeling after you missed a bit of time for the Bruins this season.
Yeah, it was about halfway through the season. I was pitching against Stanford, and a comebacker broke 2 bones in my hand, my pitching hand. So I spent a lot of time in the cast, but since then I've been throwing for a few weeks, feeling 100% ready to go on the mound. So.
Well, that's great to hear. Great to hear that you're feeling well and that you'll be ready to return to play soon. And when you think about this season, like I said earlier, your first season technically in 2020 got cut short, but you actually had the opportunity to play in the Northwoods League. A lot of people did not get to play in the summer, but you played for the Fond du Lac Dock Spiders. When you played for the Dock Spiders, that experience, how do you think that helped prepare you for this season in UCLA?
It was definitely an awesome experience. It was supposed to go to Orleans last summer, and obviously the Cape got canceled. And so everybody from the Cape basically went to the Northwoods to play. And so it was just a lot of great competition that I would have gotten out in the Cape. I got in the Northwoods. And so I was able to kind of build myself up mentally and kind of make myself stronger on that front. And I think it prepared me really well to pitch in the Pac-12.
So you went from UCLA, global pandemic hits when you thought you were going to Orleans, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Then you end up in Wisconsin, in the Midwest. You're kind of bouncing all over the place, but that's something you're kind of used to. You grew up in a military family, lived everywhere from New York all the way to Hawaii. So, what was that like kind of moving around all the time as a child? And, what do you think that did for your baseball career and also just life, kind of being on the run and having to adapt to new places constantly?
Yeah, it definitely, it was hard, but it definitely really helped me grow as a person. Constantly having to make new friends and adjust everywhere we go. And the good thing about baseball for me is that was always the constant. So no matter where I would go, I would have baseball. And if I was able to kind of separate myself in terms of skill, I found that I would be more accepted on teams no matter where I went. And so now, I still keep in touch with teammates that I've played with in all these different states, and seeing them do well in college and the professional level, it's awesome to see.
Well, and along that journey, you had your family there, of course, including your younger brother, Charlie Saum, who is a great ball player in his own right, committed to play at Stanford and has played for Team USA, already has a ton of accolades under his belt. And when you guys were both at St. Bonaventure, you actually played together. And we all know in baseball the relationship between a pitcher and catcher is always important, often referred to as a battery, who you're going to partner up. But in this case, you were the pitcher, your brother the catcher. So what was it like having that familial connection in your battery in high school?
It was awesome. I mean, there's times when you're on a team and you don't really know the catcher, and so it's kind of hard to get on the same page. But I mean, we've been playing catch since we were really young. So, I mean, he's always been my catcher, and being able to pitch in big games with him behind the plate was just a really special experience. And so, hopefully, when we're playing against each other next year, it'll kind of be a cool new thing for us.
Absolutely. It'll be a tough one for your parents. I suppose one will have to rep UCLA maybe, and one Stanford. Will definitely be a fun one in the Saum household. But I'm wondering, obviously pitcher and catcher, two very different positions, but also so intertwined at the same time. So what have you learned from your brother, him being an excellent catcher, and what do you think you've kind of passed on to him as a pitcher so he can become a better catcher?
I mean, definitely learning from him. He teaches me not to take the game too serious. Back in high school when he would catch for me and he would come take a mound visit, like he would just do nothing but just breathe like that, and like kind of get me to laugh a little bit. So that was always fun. And then I mean, we've really kind of helped develop each other, I mean, ever since going to UCLA and then coming back home, and he's kind of seen things that I do as far as detail and bullpens and in games. And I think he's kind of tried to pass that on to the pitchers that he catches in his high school. So it's kind of a give and take sort of relationship, and it's always fun.
Definitely fun for sure. And hey, Cape fans, maybe Charlie will be in future Cape seasons as well. We'll see what happens there. But I'd also like to take it back a little bit. When you played at St. Bonaventure, you were a very top prospect. You threw a hard fastball, but also could mix up with the change and the curve, but you wanted to add something else, and that's something that your coach, Chris Castro, helped you do. He helped you add a slider into your game that has become so integral to everything that you do as a pitcher, has very much become, a strikeout pitch for you. So what was that process like of kind of developing that fourth pitch, and what kind of dimension do you think it added to you as a pitcher and a player overall?
I was a 3-pitch guy for a while, and I had some success with that. And then Coach Castro at St. Bonaventure, I mean, he introduced me to the slider, and so since then I've really just been working to perfect it. And then, I mean, even at UCLA, I've gotten a lot better throwing that since then. But really, it's been a game changer. It's really become one of my put away pitches, and I always enjoy throwing it. Can throw it for a strike, can throw it to get him to chase, so the slider's been definitely a big part of my game, and Chris Castro and then Coach Savage at UCLA are to thank for helping me develop that.
So we've got fastball, change, curve, slider in there right now. Is there some weird fifth pitch that you're thinking about adding into the mix, or have you even messed around with a bit just in warm-ups or in a random bullpen?
Nothing I've really been messing around with, but I mean, the prospect of developing another pitch with some major movement, I think would be a big step for me if I were to develop that in my game. But yeah, nothing in the works quite yet as far as developing that.
Absolutely. Got to get those first 4 down first, but then maybe a fifth will come. You mentioned Coach Savage at UCLA. In reading about you prior, it seemed like he was a big reason why you decided to commit to play baseball with the Bruins. So can you speak to, what that process was like choosing UCLA and what he has done specifically to aid in your development as a player.
I mean, Coach Savage's history with UCLA speaks for itself. He when I took my first visit to campus, he basically showed me his binder, like just binders and binders full of pitching stuff, like everything from mentality to location wise and what you want to do with each pitch. So ever since getting to UCLA, like in high school, I thought I knew how to pitch. There was nothing compares to the information that I've gained pitching at UCLA. So it's been great to kind of learn from him. He's definitely one of the best to ever do it as far on the coaching side. And so, yeah, I've just nothing but good things about Coach Savage from my end.
Well, and without giving us, the secret formula of how to pitch or whatever, Coach Savage has told you about pitching, what are some of the most important aspects, not necessarily in the actual mechanics of pitching, because, there's the grip, there's the windup, there's the follow through, there's a lot of things that go into the motion of pitching, but almost, if not more important, is also the mental side of pitching. So, what have you learned from your experience, high school, even pre-high school to now, that has really aided your performance on the field when we're talking about the mental side of pitching?
I mean, really, one of the biggest things I've learned from Coach Savage is pitching is confrontation. Like you're out there and it's you versus the guy in the box, and the mentality of being 9-on-1 against this one guy is what leads to success. And just giving 100% of what you have every day to your performance, and just really working to dominate anytime you go out there.
Absolutely. So you would consider yourself, I'm guessing at least, an aggressor when it comes to pitching. Like, I'm going to pump them in there, I'm going to attack them instead of kind of dancing around the strike zone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a, I'm get in there, kind of compete with what I have, go get the guy, and what, if he hits it, he hits it, but I'm going to give 100% to each pitch and throw it with intent, and it's going to make the hitter's job as hard as it possibly can.
That's exciting to hear. So Orleans fans, when Jake's on the mound, be prepared for somebody who's just going to come downhill and attack hitters right away. Definitely excited to see you in a Firebirds uniform. And when you think about that, when was the first time you heard about the Cape Cod Baseball League, and what was that process like in terms of, trying to play on the Cape? I know you're supposed to play with Orleans last season, so what was that process? First learning, okay, I'm going to play with the Firebirds, and then eventually landing on the Firebirds once again this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'd always known about the Cape just from stories like I would see on TV, and then just things my friends would tell me. And then last year, my freshman year, I remember getting a message from Coach Savage like, hey, you're going to this team, Orleans and Cape Cod, and I was super pumped about that. Pretty much the only thing I knew about the Cape was that was where the best competition was in the summer, and that was where I was excited to be. And then obviously when it got canceled this summer, I was bummed, but the Northwoods was great, and then now I'm just excited to be coming back out.
Well, we're absolutely excited that you're coming back out, Jake. I know Firebirds fans are excited, especially hearing, about a lot of your baseball path, of how you got here. But that's only one side of the coin. And, we want to figure out, more who Jake Saum is as a person. And the thing I like to do in these interviews, I like to run a segment. It's called The Squeeze. And much like the play in baseball where, it's fast-paced, bang, bang, don't necessarily know what's going to happen, this segment is kind of going to be like that. And the way it's going to work is I got a list of questions I'm going to want to run through. They have mostly nothing to do about baseball, kind of just learning more about you. I'm going to put a minute on the clock, and we're going to fire through as many as possible. You think you're game?
All right, let's see it.
Alrighty, so I'm going to put a minute on the clock starting right now. First question, what's your favorite ballpark food?
Oh man, I love getting a Dodger dog at Dodger Stadium.
Absolutely. So Chavez Ravine over some of the other SoCal ballpark counterparts.
I would say so. Yeah.
All right. Favorite movie?
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump. That's a classic. Run, Forrest, run. If you couldn't play baseball, what would you do in life?
Uh, I'd probably join the military. Honestly, my dad's Navy, so following in his footsteps would be a dream of mine too.
Absolutely. Very commendable. Do you have any pregame rituals that you do?
I listen to music. I like my music hard and heavy. I'm a metal guy a little bit, but
Metal.
not
Really?
yeah. That's
What kind
that's
of metal?
part of
Fire
my
some artists at me.
obviously Metallica. Kind of the old school stuff like Megadeth, and then Trivium is a good band I listen to too.
Alrighty, we kind of ran out of time, but I'm gonna fire one more at you, and this is the most important question of them all, or at least it is to me. Are you a breakfast, lunch, or dinner person?
If it's a really good breakfast, if it's something I can get at IHOP or Denny's, I would have to say that. But if not, then dinner is the way to go for me.
Okay, follow-up question then. Do you think you can do breakfast for dinner?
I could, I have done it. Especially the chicken fried steak and eggs at IHOP. That's always that could really be any sort of meal. So yeah, that's a good one.
Absolutely love to hear it. I'm the same way as well. You could see me making, an omelet at midnight, and I'm completely fine with that. This has really been a fun talk. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. But before I let you go, I'm going to basically tee you up and kind of give you the opportunity to tell Firebirds fans what you're all about. Basically, with the question of what can Firebirds fans expect when Jake Saum takes the field for Orleans this summer?
Uh, I mean, Firebirds fans can expect me to give 100% of what I have every day. It's just what I've been trained to do. That's what I've always done my entire life, and I'm gonna go out there and compete every day to help this team win. So I'm looking forward to it.
So excited. Firebirds season in just a few days. That feels so good to say. Playing the Harwich Mariners on June 20th. And hey, you might be able to see Jake pitch. Jake, thank you so much for your time once again, and safe travels getting to the Cape.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.